Hi, this is Joe Galimo from Impact Group. We're just waiting for a few more folks to sign in, and we should get started maybe a minute or two after 11. Let's give people about another minute, and then we get started with our webinar here. If you're here for the M365 Collaboration webinar by Impact Group, then you're at the right place. Well, we should probably get going. Bruce, are you still there?
I am ready to go.
Awesome. All right. Hi, once again, Joe Galimo, one of the partners at Impact Group. And if you're here for the webinar on Microsoft 365 collaboration, you came to the right place. So Bruce, would you go to the next slide? We're going to start with a quick company background, and then I'll introduce Bruce, and we'll get into the content. So just a couple of quick slides on Impact Group. We have been around for 34 years now, and we're a management and IT consulting firm. We pretty much cover the waterfront for IT services. So, starting all the way from CIO as a service and IT strategy to help desk and managed services. So we're a full service organization. Whatever your IT needs are, you can certainly count on us to deliver. Next slide, please. It's just an example of some of the clients that we worked with over the past few years. And companies of all sizes, from startup organizations and manufacturing all the way to Fortune 50 companies like Best Buy. So just to give you an example. Slide, please. I'd like to introduce Bruce Jacobson. Bruce is our Microsoft and Azure practice lead. We've worked together we're trying to figure that out well over 10 years now. He actually is highly experienced with Microsoft tools. He started working with SharePoint back when it was in the beta version, back in 2000 and 2001. And his first installation was November of 2000. So he's been working with SharePoint and Microsoft technologies ever since, and is highly experienced. He's here to talk to us today about collaboration and productivity technologies. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Bruce.
Great, thanks, Joe. Yeah, it's like I started with all these Microsoft tools, and it's like once they pull you in, you can't get out. So I'm still here doing it. It's actually been a really exciting time. Lots and lots of new innovation, and it just keeps coming. So it's really been good. So we'll take a look at a quick agenda here. This is really talking about collaboration with all the Microsoft 365 tools, and doing so from first of all, an executive perspective, kind of what does all this stuff mean, and how should we really be approaching it? Talking about some kind of best practices and approaches that really scale through the organization, addressing things like meetings and the content that we have, and divide and conquer tasks and the knowledge. How do we kind of manage those things? Talking about how do we really get these best practices moved across the whole organization? How do we boost adoption and really move this through the entire organization to really take advantage of these tools that we already largely own, and that we should be leveraging to their full extent. And then we'll talk about those bullet points, and then actually take a look at how this all fits together in Microsoft Teams and kind of as a whole. So I think obviously when we get a bunch of people together to do work, we usually do that for a couple reasons. One is A, I can't do it all myself, so I need others to help me, and B, I probably don't have the skill set to do it all myself. And so, we are set up to get a bunch of people together to collectively do that work. And you can think about that. We kind of do the same thing corporately, right? We have kind of a corporate mission and corporate work that we do. And what do? We divide up into departments, right? And then we further divide up into these different teams, department teams, but other teams as well. And so a lot of times it's difficult. As soon as we divide up the work, then we have to keep track of who's doing what, and how we communicate with each other. There's a lot of obviously moving parts involved in all of that. So one of the problems we can run into is really get fragmented communication, right? That's always been an issue. It's a historic issue. It's a current issue. How do we communicate? Those communications are spread across lots of different ways of communicating. And how do we avoid kind of confusion and delays that oftentimes comes with that? Obviously, we periodically need to get together and do meetings, and we continue to hear about some of the problems with meetings. And I think a lot of that is that they really lack clear agendas and clear purpose, and so people get this impression that this is kind of wasted time, right? So how do we avoid that? How do we really get back to being productive as a group again? And then I mentioned when we divide up, we have to keep track of that division of labor. And so how do we coordinate all of those tasks that we're doing? I'm going to do a training this afternoon, and it's interesting because a few weeks ago we were meeting with all the different departments, and one of the things that we talked about was how do you keep track of kind of post-meeting tasks? And a lot of them were just saying, well, we're kind of on the honor system, right? It's like if we go to a meeting and we say, well, Bruce, you're going to do this then, and Joe, you're going to do this. It's like we just hope and pray that those people will do that. But the thing is sometimes that's not the best way to do it because people forget, if nothing else. So, there's all these different challenges that come with trying to work together as a group. And obviously, the goal of Microsoft 365, the goal of this work that we do, is to really, at the end of the day, improve productivity and provide us a return on investment, right? We're spending all this money and we expect it to get us somewhere. And so how can we boost team productivity using these tools to really kind of streamline this and make it more efficient and increase our output? How can we really enhance the work that we do amongst ourselves and with some of these platforms and individual tools, and once again show us the money, right? It's like how can we get a higher return on this investment? I think this last bullet point sometimes taken a bit too lightly in the sense that we buy a package of tools from Microsoft in Microsoft 365, and they give us all these tools, and that's a fixed cost. But if we don't take advantage of all of those as best is appropriate for our organization and for our team, then we really have unrealized benefits there, right? That cost stays the same, but we have an opportunity to increase the benefit that we get from that fixed cost. And so I think that's something that we should really strive to take advantage of and have a plan in place to do so. So one of the things that we can do is use some of these tools as kind of what I'm calling here a collaboration operating system. And I think trying to make sure that all of the things that we do as a team come together and that we can integrate those things, that we have a single platform on which we can communicate, we can store our stuff, right? All the different kinds of content that we have, on which we can lay the processes that we're working on and keep track of all those, and really try to make this much more seamless instead of all these individual pieces that we also have to try to put together. So I think a lot of this is taking and really making sure that these tools are aligned, and that we're using them together appropriately, not just using them or not using them, and really trying to match these tools to specific objectives. I'll give you a quick example of that. Microsoft Teams. Teams come together for all kinds of different purposes, right? And Microsoft Teams could be configured differently, depending on if, for example, we're a department team versus some project team, right? That we're doing work on. So, how can we use different tools, use them differently, organize things differently, to really be more productive and to have a bigger impact. And once again, this is all about driving business outcomes. So if we can also take a look at some of the work that we're doing and making sure that it aligns with our goals corporately, maybe doing some reporting on those kinds of things, which we could definitely do, then we'd have better insights into that and hopefully be able to do a better job of that from an ongoing standpoint. And I think so much of this comes from leadership. Really, leadership sets down some priorities. They have that for us corporately, and that translates down to us as different individual teams, and then hence down to us personally. And so if there's things we could do that really help us to focus on those things, then obviously that keeps efficiency going as well from a corporate standpoint. So from a leadership standpoint, just having visibility into a lot of the activities that are going on, and being able to see how we are using these tools, if we're using them to kind of match up with some of these corporate goals that we have, having governance in place to make sure that we're following policies from a corporate standpoint, and that to kind of make sure that a lot of those are enforced. And then also just from a compliance and a security standpoint, making sure that all of this stuff stays secure, stays compliant with different regulatory standards that we have, and just overall trying to reduce a lot of those risks and liabilities that we might otherwise have. So I think this goes beyond just collaboration as well. It really kind of addresses a lot of these fundamentals that we have and that we're responsible for as well. So I think once we get some of these set up, we can kind of take this out to scale, right? And take a look at the way that we work and move that out to the whole entire organization. There's, I think, a real benefit to creating some standards out there, creating consistency. I mentioned I'm doing some training right now. One of a couple of the things we did with that group is across the whole company is to really kind of set these standards to make sure that everybody knows what these standards are, at least the baselines, and to make sure that when we get a new employee, for example, that we make sure that they're trained to those standards, right? One of the things I touched on the fact that we might be part of a department team or some functional unit team, but we might also get pulled into several different projects. And sometimes we have activities across the organization that really mean that our team is very cross-departmental. And whenever we get in a new team, it's nice to know that everybody has a baseline understanding of these tools, of the way that we generally work. And that really improves our overall efficiency then. It improves my individual personal user experience, right? Because I know what's going on and what others are going to be doing. At least I have a general sense of that. Definitely lessens overall support needs from an IT and a corporate perspective. It really helps us to leverage other app integrations to kind of try to bring all of this stuff together for our team. And I think the other thing that it does is it kind of lays a foundation for us to continue to build on, just just within Microsoft 365, which I think is now up to like 30 some apps. It's just crazy. We talked about the fact that I started with SharePoint 25 years ago, whatever that was. Man, it's like, look at all these different apps that we have that are all relatively new, doing all kinds of different things for us. Most organizations are not going to be able to do all of those all the time or at once. And so, we're all trying to move forward and take advantage of these more and more over time, as is appropriate. If we have some of these standards in place that really lays that foundation down that we can continue to build on and continue to move it forward because we have a good baseline. So I think anything we can do to kind of set some of these standards is a good thing. You look at meetings, for example. How can we make better meetings? Well, I think one of the things we could do is try to be more efficient with our meetings, adopting strategies that streamline meeting processes. We can have better ways of doing agendas, better agendas. The way that we interact with one another, we can bring technology into play. I know I've worked with several different teams recently where we talked about the fact that maybe 2/3 of the team is in person and the other third is not. And so they kind of, the people that are dialing in, if you will, in a web meeting scenario, kind of feel like sometimes they're getting lost a little bit, right? It's like, what are you guys talking about? What are you doing there in the room? It's like maybe we should switch to an electronic whiteboard in Teams instead of using a physical whiteboard in the room, because that way we can keep everybody in the loop and everybody can participate. Just little simple things like that to just make sure that everybody is being more effective in participating in the meeting. And so a lot of different things we could do with these technologies to really enhance participation and make this a lot more interactive amongst the entire group. I think we all kind of got pushed into some of this when COVID came about. And I think since then have really continued to refine a lot of this and really understand how we can really leverage these tools that where they really are impactful, right, in these scenarios that we live in today. And really that helps us, right, to move forward, faster decision making, being able to be active in the things that we're doing, facilitate quicker consensus, better decision outcomes, all of those kinds of things that are really just making our meetings, as one example, much more productive. And much more impactful. And so I think if we can kind of realize some of those, that really moves us forward. Using AI in our meetings, for example. Copilot is Microsoft's version of ChatGPT. And using Copilot, which is baked into everything now in Microsoft 365, to be able to look across some of the content that we have, conversations within Teams or emails or files, being able to really help us get a good agenda going and to make sure that it's being appropriate with the work we're trying to get done, being able to gather up some of the content that we need before the meeting actually starts, something that might have taken us too long in the past and been too burdensome, and we might not have wanted to do it and kind of blown it off. Now it's a lot easier to just put that information together, right? Because we can just ask Copilot to do those kinds of things. And we come to the meeting much more prepared and being able to take much better actions. During the meeting, we can have a summarization created off of the transcript, looking at what were some of the discussion points and the decisions that were made, and areas of agreement, disagreement, things that we have to resolve in the future, tasks that we need to follow up on, all those kinds of things. We can have Copilot help us with putting together a list of things right on the fly during the meeting. And also for people that come late, and I've done this before, I come late to a meeting and it's like, I wonder what's going on. Like just ask Copilot, hey, what's been going on? What did I miss? Just give me a few bullet points on this and kind of really get up to date really quick. So, you know, some of these things are just very practical, right? But in doing so, that just helps me, even though I was tardy and I shouldn't have been perhaps, but I can quickly get up to speed and then jump right in and participate in the meeting, making it a lot more productive for me and more productive for my team as well. And then just from a follow-up standpoint, right? Not only just having a recap of this, but turning this stuff into action items. And I think, I mentioned earlier, that's one of the things that a lot of teams don't do because once again, it's kind of burdensome. And so they'll just say, well, let's just stay on the honor system, right? Bruce and Joe say they're going to follow up on stuff. We'll just have to take their word for it and hope and pray that they do. Well, we can do a better job than that, right? We can have AI help us with that. We can log those tasks into Planner, which could be very simple to do, and just make sure that we have a way to keep track of all that stuff and that things don't fall through the cracks. Also, we can ask Copilot for some summaries of some of the information that was discussed and why things were why the decisions were made as they were, what some alternatives were. I actually do this fairly frequently as a follow-up, where I'm following up with some tasks and thinking back on the meeting and wondering if I really clearly understood that and asking Copilot for some further information on that just to help get better insights into it. So, lots of tools here with AI that we can start to put in place that are simple to do, that don't take us education per se, and that we can really take away some of that grunt work kinds of things that we might not otherwise do, and really make us more productive overall. Having all of the content stored in one location, personal content in OneDrive and our team content in the SharePoint site that sits behind Microsoft Teams, having all of that stuff there accessible to the team. Once again, just very efficient from an efficiency standpoint. And all of us are still so highly dependent on documents. This is documents still remain a lot of our stuff, right? A lot of our unstructured data is still document data. And so the better job we can do of managing this and making it accessible, the better off we are just as individuals working in the team and collectively as a team. If you guys haven't played with Loop yet, I would encourage you to at least go learn about that a little bit. Loop is really for real-time groups that need to collaborate and gives us a little platform on that. We'll take a look at that in just a few minutes. But other ways of us working together on this content to really, once again, make us collectively more productive. And I already mentioned tasks using a planner, perhaps to organize some of the tasks that come out of meetings. Also lists, keeping track of some of the other things that we got going on. I just got done setting up for a group. We had a planner plan set up for projects that they do. And one of the things that we decided to do is create a list for follow-on work. So after their projects go live for this particular group, they realized that there was a bunch of problems that would kind of keep cropping up, right? Post go live issues that would come up. And we just use lists to create a little list and log all of those, make sure that those got resolved, had a way to assign those and make sure that somebody's going to be in charge of it and we're going to get those taken care of. Something that was a big problem for them and just falling through the cracks all the time and really preventing them from kind of wrapping up a project before they were moving on to another project. So, a lot of these things just are so practical in addressing some of the things that we need to do. And the whole aspect that I touched on earlier of assignment and accountability, not saying, well, gosh, we are counting on Bruce and Joe to do these tasks, but saying, well, let's log that and make sure they do that. And make sure that there's a way for the rest of the team to get engaged with the work that they're doing as part of these tasks, and to interact with them and participate with them, to just make that whole process moving forward in a smooth way. And just overall note taking, I touched on that in the context of a meeting, but I think documenting work processes and other types of things that a team does, having all of these different kinds of buckets in which to put information and store it efficiently, and taking advantage of these tools is just huge in the context of a team trying to be more efficient in the collaborative work that they do. So how do if I want to come up with some of these standards and kind of push these out to the organization, how can I best do that? And really do that, kind of push that across the whole organization. And I think there's some things that come into play here. One of the guys on our team is hugely into change management. He's a change management specialist, and I just continue to learn so much from him. And I think there has to be some good communication as to what it is that we're trying to do, why we're doing this, what the opportunities are in front of us, to get people to understand the opportunity that is being presented, and to get buy-in from them. And then to really make sure that they understand that this is an expectation from the top down, right? We're really trying to be better. We're trying to take advantage of these tools we already own, trying to really come up with new ways of working. And so strong leadership really motivates people. I was in a meeting a while back. I'll never forget that. I was doing a project, and the person responsible for the project was the chief operating officer. And we had a conversation, and he said, well, you should go meet with a couple of these people. And so I went and met with one of the people he suggested. And I said, Larry, I really appreciate you taking time and meeting with me. And he was, it turns out, kind of a jokester. He just had fun with the work that he was doing. And he liked to joke around a lot. But there was a grain of truth to what he told me. He said, well, I'm here because Chris made me be here. And that was true, right? Chris had told him, hey, I'm going to have Bruce come and talk to you, and here's what we're doing, and I really need you to get behind this. And the way he did it, he was joking around, but there definitely was truth there, right? He was all in because Chris had talked to him, right? The chief operating officer had said, hey, this is important, and I really want you to jump in and embrace this and participate in this and help to drive this. And so I think leadership is just so important, and we hear that over and over again, but it's very true. And then to making sure that we do some change management best practices to support the rollout of this over time and throughout the organization, so that we have the transition moving forward is a smooth process, and that we get sustained user adoption. And Steve, the change management person I work with all the time, talks about that a lot, and as far as making sure that the communications support these changes that we're doing, and that these changes are being rolled out in kind of a meaningful way. And so a way that people can really understand what it is we're trying to accomplish. And then as we roll this out, just being able to train on this stuff as well, right? Making sure that people understand these tools, what they can do, how they can best use them, and to get good adoption because people have good experiences with these. Having policies in place, here's kind of our baseline, right? We want everybody to understand these certain things, and we're going to continue to support you to move forward from this as well. They've got other opportunities in front of us, making sure that people understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish as an organization and how we continue to support that from an ongoing standpoint. One group that I work with is interesting. I think they have an IT staff of 3. And they each decided to take and divide up the Microsoft 365 products, right? And they were new to Microsoft 365. They'd been using it for email and a little bit for web meetings, but were new to the rest of it. As they continued to roll this out, they were going through all of these steps, doing all the right things. And on top of that, one of the things that they did is each one of those three people in IT took a couple of products that were part of Microsoft 365, became experts on those products. And not only that, but became available for a couple hours a week where you could just call up that person and talk about those topics. So, really kind of jumping in to really support these as users were moving forward with them, had questions on best practices or how to use things, and really trying to get adoption going. So I think lots of different ways to be able to support those as they get rolled out. And then to also take a look at, so are we having any kind of impact on this stuff, right? Microsoft makes tools available where we can track some of these things, and being able to actually track some metrics and measure these and track them over time to able to prove to ourselves that this is making an impact. Also, maybe to address situations where it's not making an impact. Why is it? It's supposed to be, it should be. Why? What it is it that we're doing where we're not realizing that value and being able to kind of take corrective measures there? And I think part of that is just to share across the organization some of the successes that we have with these products, and to share things across the organization of how people are using these products to solve some of their problems and to make their collaboration efforts better. That stuff goes a long way because then people continue to see things brought to life and they understand it. There's the old saying, you don't know what you don't know, right? A lot of this stuff, all these products are very contemporary and very web-like. They're very familiar, but there's also this kind of initial thing of, I don't know what I don't know. And once somebody shows me, it's like, oh man, okay, that's simple. I got that, right? And so having the ability for people to share stories amongst themselves on how they accomplished certain things with these tools, and to kind of share some of that knowledge goes a long, long way as far as getting these things rolled out. So we're going to talk a little bit about Microsoft Teams and how this is a platform for so much of this, kind of really an integration hub for a lot of these activities and a lot of this information. And I use an analogy here of cake and a layered cake. A, because I like cake, but B, because I think it also illustrates kind of the point here of Microsoft Teams. So one of the things that Teams does is kind of harkening back to days gone by is it stores our documents, right? So behind every Microsoft Teams team is a SharePoint team site, and that team site provides us with a way to store documents, to iterate and collaborate on documents, to continue to march the documents forward. It has all of the capabilities of a document management system, and really provides this kind of robust container in which I can store all of my documents. So we kind of have that piece taken care of. But there's really more to a modern life than just documents. And so I always call this Documents Plus, because in a modern era, we have a lot more than just documents. We live in a web world, so we've got links to things. A lot of times we want to create lists. So these aren't really documents per se, but content that we store in lists. Ditto with notes. We have a notebook in OneNote where we can store all of that kind of note content. Maybe that's just kind of more ad hoc content. Maybe it's ongoing instructional and reference content. Could be all kinds of different things, but instead of burying it in a document, we can bring it to life and make it more accessible in the context of a notebook. We have news perhaps within our organization or about the work that we're doing. work instructions where we need to maybe do a better job of bringing that stuff to life, contact information, um, rich media, hugely part of our day-to-day world, right? Videos and images. We have the permissions to deal with of all of this stuff. Tasks, we already talked about that, the divide and conquer, a mailbox, right, that our team can have. Lots and lots of different kinds of information. And so all of that can be stored and accessible to our team and is really surfaced inside of Microsoft Teams. And so in Teams, not only do we surface all of this content, but we kind of add all the work that we do, which is kind of the top layer, the layer with the most frosting, as I said here. All of the other things that we do, the ability to literally go into a document simultaneously together, even if we're not in the same room, and to work on that document. I can see the things you're changing. You can see the things I'm changing. We literally can co-author changes within our document. Being able to better communicate, not just in the context of web meetings like this, but chats and full-blown conversations, using a whiteboard to kind of throw things out, ideas, and kind of lay those out and work them. Other kinds of activities that we have. All of these kinds of things are the other things that we do as a team. And that includes lots of other apps, perhaps, right? Maybe I'm an HR department. I have the HR system that I have to deal with. Maybe I'm an accounting person and I've got the whole accounting system, et cetera, right? We can bring all of those apps into Microsoft Teams as well. And take care of all of our work in one location. And that's really the idea behind and the purpose of Microsoft Teams. Microsoft calls this a single pane of glass, kind of implying I've got this window, and this window lets me get to all of the stuff that I have as a team. It's kind of like a team desktop where you can just spread all this stuff out and have ready access to it all right on top of this one desktop. And it's really bringing all of this stuff together. Microsoft Teams is not a difficult app to understand or use because of the fact that there's nothing new about it. It's just an aggregation of everything that our team does and everything that our team has, and putting that all together. And that's really all it is, right? So once I understand a couple of the nuances of Microsoft Teams, I've got it, right? I understand it because I understand all the things that are there and all the things that we're trying to do. So the way we organize this and is kind of in ways that lend itself to the work that we're trying to do as well. So obviously I can communicate with phone text, but I also now have the ability to chat one-on-one or as groups right within inside of Teams. And so for a lot of the work that I'm doing collectively as a team or with others, I can do that right inside of Microsoft Teams. Does that totally supplant phone texting? Probably not, but certainly probably change the landscape of which tool I use and for what purpose. I can also say, well, hey, team, if we're going to communicate amongst ourselves, let's do that inside of Teams as a post, as a conversation, instead of doing it in email. Why would we do that? Because it's not an email. Email is just this kind of big pit, right? With all kinds of things. It's very difficult to find things there. Things have no real good context. In contrast to that, inside of Teams, I can do a post inside of a channel. The channel is already my topic, and the conversation I have is already hence part of that work that we're doing within that team. That content is also searchable within the team. So now I've got all of that stuff right there, and I don't have to worry about where all those things are. I can still email. I can still have a phone call. I can now also have a phone call right inside of Teams. Here again, if I have that, I've got a record of it. It's right inside of Teams. I can associate that with other work that I'm doing. So for the work that we're doing as a team, whether it be a department or a project, some of these new tools that we have really provide a lot of context to those communications that we have. And obviously being able to do a web meeting like we're doing right now. And so I think as we move this out to users, we need to just make sure that we have clarity on what are these new opportunities, when should I use them, how can I be most effective with them, and making sure that people understand, which channel is the right one to use and when, so that we can be as timely as necessary, and also not to create all of this unnecessary noise that we all continue to try to run from, right? Sometimes we got too much stuff going on. So Teams chats, very, very simple, kind of one-on-one or small groups. Any kind of files that I might have that are shared with me are stored in OneDrive, which is my personal file storage. And then the posts within the channels of Teams really let me do all of those things that I can do in email and more. They're threaded conversations. I mentioned searchable. I can do all the formatting I can do in email. I can easily turn them into announcements to get more attention amongst my team. I can mention folks so that it brings an individual or a particular group in, to get more attention to that particular post that I'm making. All of this stuff being something that we can fully control as we need to as well. So really kind of taking that core conversation and really enhancing it. And all of this is really just inside of Teams, just structurally. When we create a team, we should set up these things that are called channels. And the channel is really kind of nothing more than these top level folders. Here's an example of a finance team. And inside there, they've got channels for accounts payable, accounts receivable, planning, reporting, and then a general channel for just kind of miscellaneous things. These might likely be in an old world structure, things that were folders on a file share. And now we're just kind of translating that same organization into Teams. And for each one of these channels, we get the ability to store documents, but we also get the ability to do all these other things that we do and kind of really bring this to life in a modern world. So all of the major functions of a department, all of the major phases or work aspects of a project, those are what these channels are, because those are historically how we've organized our team. And so we still have that familiar hierarchy. Additionally, all these channels, we keep permissions super, super simple. We have a standard channel, which is the whole team. Maybe we need to have a couple of people on the team take care of some things that the rest of the team doesn't need to be involved with. We can create a private channel. The last one I did of these was a person and myself who were responsible for a lot of the budget types things of a project. And we didn't want to share that with the whole entire team, so we created a private channel for Laurel and myself. And we were able to manage the budget on that. The rest of the team didn't need to be involved with that, but we still had the full functionality of Teams to organize that information and to organize the work that we were doing around that private channel. And then sometimes we need to extend out. We need to extend past our team for certain aspects of the work that our team does. An example that I use all the time is one of somebody extending an HR department, for example, extending out to a finance department in the context of payroll. So maybe HR is really in charge of payroll, but they can't do it without finance. And so maybe they, within their department, within their team, they create a channel called HR work with finance, right? And that's a way for those external people to become part of the team, at least in some context. But I don't have to really get involved with this on a real granular or complicated way from a permission standpoint, because I can just do this all in the context of channels. And then here again, if I've got channels as my structure and I've automatically got a place to have conversations around that and to store files. Then the other thing that I do is I just fill in the other pieces related to that particular topic. So if it's accounts payable, well, I have a place on my team for accounts payable conversations. For the documents that I need, what else do I need? Maybe access to my notebook. Maybe we need to divide and conquer on things, so I need a planner plan to organize our tasks. Maybe we're doing some brainstorming, I can add a whiteboard. Maybe I want a link over to my accounting system related to payables. Whatever kinds of things we are doing in the context of the topic of accounts payable, in my example, are the tasks or the tabs that we would be adding to the top of our particular channel. Once again, just bringing all of this stuff together. And we've got the ability to integrate lots and lots of apps, certainly Microsoft apps, but lots and lots of other apps. And we can oftentimes, if there isn't an app for that, so to speak, we can actually accomplish that just by doing a website or by doing a little custom app integration, which is just a minimal effort. So one of the things that we can do here is incorporate all of these other Microsoft tools and bring those right into Microsoft Teams. A OneNote for notes, a planner for our task management, Loop for other collaboration, lists where we create list-based information, a whiteboard to do some kind of work with an electronic whiteboard instead of a physical whiteboard. So we're going to step into actually taking a look at that in real life here. So going to throw this up. Here.
Bruce,
What was that, Joe?
While you're queuing that up, there was a question about ongoing support. Would you normally expect that to come from the internal IT team?
Yeah, so good question. I think that some of that does come from the internal IT team. I think some of that comes perhaps from taking a small core group of users and giving them some more extensive training. I think a lot of these things are not difficult. There is, however, some newness to some of these things. And so if you can get some people that are already past the newness and you get them peppered throughout the organization, and one of those people is probably now on one of my teams, and if I've got some question on how I should be doing this or how does this thing work, or how can I better organize this, I could just say, hey, Joe, hey, show me how to do this, right? You seem to know a lot about this. What do you think of this? Can you show me what you're doing on this, or how is our team using this, and really get a lot of information that way. I think you can have IT support support that and spend some time on dividing up how that best works. And the other thing I think you can do is decide when, as an organization, you run into situations that you don't want to support, right? Maybe this is new technology and you really want to get a good start with it. Maybe you're moving past Teams and starting to use Power BI or Power Automate or something, and you guys haven't used that as an organization in the past, and somebody really wants to use this, and maybe in advance, IT has said, you know something, if we run into any of these things, we're going to go contact Bruce, right? And have him help us just get pointed in the right direction, right? And do some education. And then we'll kind of take it from there. So I think just having an organization have a plan on, the things that they don't want to support, as well as how they're going to support the things they do, and then trying to really support the organization more broadly by getting some champions, a quote unquote champions group, kind of across group of people where you can give them some additional education to help kind of spread the knowledge on these things. And once again, I don't think these things are difficult per se. The thing that the organization just generally has to do is get past the newness. And so often when I have people ask me those kinds of questions, it's like, oh, let me show you how to do that. And you show them, you're like, and they will respond by saying, well, that's pretty easy. It's like, oh, well, it wasn't easy 5 minutes ago, but that's just because you didn't know it, right? You couldn't get past the newness of it. And now that you did, it is simple, right? And so it's really helping individuals within the organization kind of get past that newness. So here we have a couple of teams. Here's this finance team that I showed you before. And once again, every team that's set up has a notebook. This is a notebook with sections. And every time you add a new channel over here, your notebook has a new section within it. But if I go to one of the channels and just click the notes, it only shows me that one section because I'm in that particular channel. So if I click on AP or AR, and I've got a notebook here, this is only showing me the AR section of a particular notebook. And so that's nice to kind of make this very, very simple. I can go ahead and add a task list and keep track of some of the work that we're doing as a group, as a collective group. This kind of divide and conquer concept. And actually, you know something, I'm going to skip down here. There you can see the task, but I'm going to show you a couple of things down here. So, oh, I'm in the wrong team. That's why. Go to my project team. I was wondering where it went to. Here you go, tasks. We've got a couple of different ways of tracking tasks. If a project is very complicated, we've got a step up to Planner called Planner Premium, and lets me track things and look at things more like from a Gantt chart perspective. Particularly useful, those extra features if you have a project manager or a person serving in that role. But these tasks are super simple to set up. I could just come in here and add a task and very simply come and make updates to this. So these are some of the kinds of things that you can do. These are super simple to set up, even in the context of a meeting. Certainly, if you're using something like Copilot to help surface what were the tasks that came out of the meeting, you can literally just go in like a minute, just add a bunch of tasks here that came out of the meeting. And a task has got ways of organizing into different groupings, the progress, the priorities, a due date, some general notes. If the task has different pieces to it, I can create a checklist. And one thing that's really cool from a collaborative process is the fact that I can allow my teammates to collaborate with me if I'm assigned to this task by just adding comments in here, right? Or adding attachments. I can do those things, but so can my teammates. And so it really helps us to do this communication that needs to take place around the work that needs to take place. So just a very, very practical way of organizing some of these things. I mentioned lists. Here's a way that I can kind of keep track of some different things in the context of a project, but this could be any kind of a list material. I can create a list, and all I'm really doing here is just defining columns and then adding new items to it. As soon as I go to add a new item, it gives me a form with all of these column headings. I just go and fill this in and off I go, right? Here's the changes on this project. Here's the risk for the project. Here's the status of the project. I can share these things out with others that aren't even part of our team. I can create a page out here for our team. I mentioned that there is a SharePoint site that sits behind each one of these teams. And so I can come up with other kinds of ad hoc information that I organize. I can have a place for all of my documents, every channel that I create. It automatically creates a folder, but I can also create other folders as well for other miscellaneous documents and store those out here as well. And here again, the whole purpose of this is to really bring all of this stuff together, right? To first set up a team and say, what are my particular topics? And then to say, okay, for each of those topics is what I want to do is have all of this stuff related to that. We can do other things where maybe we create some AI agents. Here is a particular training assistant that I had set up a while back, and I can just ask a question if I'm in finance, saying, hey, heard about some new Excel functions and features. What are some of the latest things? And I can just ask it. It'll go out to particular places within the internet, particular resources that Microsoft has to get all these answers and come back and say, oh, here's all the latest stuff, right? And I can do that just by asking a question right within the conversations that are going on, right within our team. And by the way, this particular agent and I can continue with this conversation. Other teammates can join in this conversation. And so we are literally having conversations with computers, right? And they're participating with us and bringing us additional information as we move forward.
Hey, Bruce.
Yes,
There's another question. Did you create the M365 training assistant?
I did. Yep.
Okay.
And that I created that with Copilot Studio. And Copilot Studio is just a low code, no code way to create custom Copilots. And in this case, all I really did was I said, I want an agent that will answer questions about Microsoft 365 products. And I told the agent, here are some resources I want you to use. Microsoft has something called the Microsoft 365 Training Center. So that was one of them. Microsoft also has another thing called the Microsoft 365 Learning Center. And so I used some different repositories like that is the content. And so now if somebody uses this assistant, is what they do is they just ask a question related to Microsoft 365 and training about it. And it will go and use that content that I've specified and augment it with other stuff from the internet or other stuff internally that we have, and to provide the user with the best possible answer. So it's just really a way of me kind of narrowing down some of the good content out there from a training perspective.
And we've got another question. Can you embed a chat/conversation within a channel versus a generalized chat?
So chats and posts or conversations, as they're called now, they're in the process of renaming this. These are all rich text. Think of email. And these are specific to a channel. And so these are meant for us as a team to have conversations about these topics, about AP, AR, planning, which is financial planning, reporting, right? And to have these conversations about these topics. If we have other conversations that fall outside of this, that's when we can get into chats. And so chats are separate. I can switch the view on Teams to put all this stuff together as far as communications go. And so that helps to kind of bring those together. And I can look at those less in the context of the team and more in the context of communications. And so that gives me kind of more of a communication bent to it. But chats are standalone and conversations within a channel stay within the channel.
Very good. We've got about 2 minutes left, so we should probably start wrapping up.
Yeah, let me turn it back over to you, Joe. I'm gonna throw up this current slide, and you can just kind of take us through the end here.
Yeah, so thanks, Bruce. I appreciate it. So, I mean, I think Bruce has done a great job of explaining and demoing, how these tools can be used to enhance teamwork, how we can help you drive adoption through the organization, and how we can, leverage these tools to provide the operating system levels. So you've got that single pane of glass to work from as a team and really enhance collaboration and productivity. So next slide, please. So we're kind of running out a little bit out of time. If there are any other final questions, please put them in the chat or just open your take yourself off of mute. We do have a couple of things we wanted to cover. If you're looking for additional collaboration services, we've got a whole suite. I'm not going to go through all these, but you can see, and I will send these slides out after the meeting. We can pretty much help you in whatever area you might be looking for assistance with. And then last slide, Bruce.
Yep.
We do have
sorry.
a special offer. No problem. We do have a special offer that was in the announcement for this event. If you go down. There we go. So if attendees you've been automatically awarded a free 1-hour Microsoft 365 productivity assessment. And the outcome of that is an opportunity brief and an implementation plan. So helping you understand how, the concepts that Bruce has been describing will relate to your organization specifically. The assessment will be conducted by Bruce. If you're interested, let me know. And again, I will send out this deck as a follow-up. So you don't have to take that down. But if you'd like us to help you figure out, how to implement these tools and really increase your group's productivity, we can do that. There's no obligation. If you take advantage of this offer and decide to do everything in-house, that's no problem. But if you'd like us to help you afterwards, obviously, we'd be more than happy to do that. So with that, we're out of time. Appreciate your attendance. I will send this, as I mentioned, as a follow-up, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.